Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with highlights from a very heated FIA top split manufacturer race at Suzuka in Group 4. So if you didn't see this on the live stream, then this race was extremely intense. We can see this was our qualifying run. We managed to, right at the end of the stint, managed to pick up a slipstream here. We lost control on our first lap, so had to rejoin and go for another lap. So we managed to pick up this car in front, slipstream, pretty much at the perfect distance here, going down the straight to just get a little bit of a boost and then try and hang with him through the obviously the twisty section of the track, which when in the slipstream probably is not the best, fastest way. So it's all about just trying to hang on. So we managed to go through here quite nicely, get a nice solid exit and entry onto the apex there and exit off the corner. So we're in the slipstream. Now this is where you're probably not really going to gain much time with being in the slipstream through here, because obviously the winding corners, it's actually probably a little bit faster to be out of the slipstream at this section. But yeah, we're doing it okay. You can see we go through sector 1 split and we're actually up on our time trial time, which was a 2:04.7. so we're on quite a good lap. We're going to gain a little bit on this uphill section, and then as we come into the two right hand corners we're still gaining now, and then obviously we're going to have to just try and stay with him through here while we go through these tricky right hand corners again. When you're in the slipstream, very tricky to stay with someone, but we actually hooked that up quite nice, and we go over the second sector split again. We're up on our personal best in time trial, so we're on a pretty good lap here. However, going into the entry point, the car in front gets all out of shape, and it just offset me a bit, and then we had to back out slightly, come off the throttle, and that's probably just lost us 3 tenths at least there, as I just got all out of sync. And also now we haven't got the slipstream on this very important stretch of road where this is all about power gains with that slipstream. So kind of frustrating, because we're going to lose out on quite a bit of time there, and again on the back straight we're going to lose out here as we work our way down this long power section again with no slipstream. And obviously with that mistake on the apex meant we couldn't get on the throttle nicely out of the hairpin. So yeah, probably lost about 3 tenths. Let's have a little look as we go over the sector 3 split, and we can have a little look there. We're definitely going to be slower. We go over, yeah, over 3 tenths, nearly 4, well, 3.5 tenths there down on sector 3. So quite a lot of loss of time there. However, into the apex here, we do this quite nicely. We actually cut the corner nicely, get nice rotation, and that's not too bad at all for the final corner. However, through here I did panic a bit there, nearly actually backed off the throttle because I was worried that we were hitting, but we just about kept it planted, and we go over the line for a 2:05.1. so not the most amazing lap ever, but it was good enough to start us in P8, I think it was, as we come to myself there on the grid, sitting behind another Ferrari in P8. So yeah, if we would have had slipstream for that whole lap, I think we were on a very strong lap, probably a 2:04.6 or 7. However, obviously with the loss of slipstream, we're down in P8. But let's see what we can do from here. I opted to risk it and start on the soft tyres from this position in the race. So yeah, I decided it's worth the risk. We're going to start on the soft tyres and see if we can pick up some slipstreams and just see if we can gain some time in this race and get some clean air as well. So yeah, behind P8, let's see how this goes. We're all obviously working our way into turn 1. So few cars warming their tyres up. I give my tyres a little bit of a warm up here. So we're actually on the medium tyres. So in this race you had to use a medium and hard tyres. The soft tyres meant that you'd have to do 2 stops, which you just didn't want to do because it would mean a long time in the pits and it just wasn't viable for a top split race. So yeah, we're starting on the medium tyres. We do have to pit once for the hard tyres. Just giving them tyres a little bit of a warm up just so we got a bit of grip on this first section. And yeah, running quite smooth through here. Already broke the slipstream pretty much to the car behind, which makes me wonder if he was actually starting on the hard tyres there. But getting very close to the cars in front, you can see someone maybe in front of us maybe started on the hard tyres. Possibly the Alfa Romeo up there started on the hard tyres. Seems to be holding up the Hyundai in front of us there also. So through these 2 right hand corners, let's see, can we stay with them as close as possible? You see very close to there, nice and smooth, not making any risks at the moment. Obviously lap 1, we don't want to get involved with too much aggressive driving as we come into the hairpin again, just going on a wide line, and we see some sort of incident there with the Alfa and Hyundai. I don't really know what's happened there, but it seems to be a bit of contact. And then as we work our way up here, it all starts getting a little bit aggressive in front of us. You see the Hyundai nudging into the Ferrari, giving a little bit of contact there, and it all starts kicking off. So what I do here is, you can see me come off the throttle nice and early. I stay to the right hand side of the track, just come off the throttle, and then we do a lovely undercut there on the inside and manage to gain 2 positions. So a nice 2 positions gained, and we let them battle it out and we take them positions off them up into P6. So a pretty much perfect start there, because we got ahead of the medium tyre runner, and also now we're picking up the slipstream to that Hyundai, who was very, very fast here. However, I wasn't really sure how fast he would be. You know, it was one of them in this race. I wasn't really sure what the Hyundai was like at this track at this point. And yeah, we're getting the slipstream into this final chicane. We know the Ferrari was good at this track. Very solid car for the track. It wasn't the best, but it definitely wasn't one of the worst cars. We go a little bit wide there. However, we get good exit speed, and we're going to pick up a nice slipstream now from Ari in front of us. So we're getting the slipstream, and it looks like we're going to be able to go for an overtake. So as we come up behind him, you're going to see I decide to go to the right, and then he just blocks us really late. Now I was a little bit frustrated. You'll see why now. Look, you see how late that block was. We actually ended up hitting him, and it put me a little bit out of sync for this corner. So I was a bit frustrated because the reason why he did it wasn't really justified in my view. But we'll get to that later on. Basically, his reason was that he was faster than me, so I shouldn't be going for an overtake, which I don't think is justified, because at that point I didn't know how fast he was. I don't know how good the Hyundai was, and I was going for an overtake, and it was a bit of a block, but we didn't get too frustrated because I wanted to settle back down and get in a rhythm. It did nearly, could have pretty much ruined the race for us, because it could have lost the rear, been on the curbs, and yeah, it would have been race over from that. But yeah, we're getting the car back under control, and again the Hyundai looks a bit out of control there, and he runs wide through the corner. So I decide again, yeah, we're gonna, I mean, he looks a bit sketchy at the moment, so we have a little look up the inside here, but we braked nice and early. I didn't want to just send it up the inside, it would have been a bit too risky. But yeah, we're having a look, see if we can go past him. But after the block that he did into turn one, it kind of made me a little bit wary. But in front of us we've got Aura, who I think was starting on the hard tyres. You can see that we've been gaining on him on this lap very, very quickly. So that Corvette does look to have been starting on the hard tyres, which means that we're going to probably have a run on him somewhere. So coming out of this corner, this is where we're going to be much faster. And again, Aura there nearly losing control of the Corvette on the exit of the corner. That gives Ari the run on the inside. Now, I know that Ari's on the medium tyre, so I decide to go up the inside and bump draft Ari through here. So we give him a bump draft. He's then going to go past Aura. We've now got the slipstream to Ari, and now we've got the inside line into 130R, which we take nicely and make that position. So Aura behind us there in the Corvette. Hazy takes a wider line, and yeah, he's still behind us. So up into P5, a very strong start for this FIA top split manufacturer race. And yeah, this was our first Group 4 race driving for Ferrari in a long time. We have been Ferrari once before, about 3 years ago now. So it was nice to get back in this Group 4 car because I do like the way this Group 4 Ferrari handles. It's a very, very nice car. But now we can see we're just in the slipstream of Ari, and he does seem to have very good pace. You're going to see it as we watch the replay camera. You can see just how close the racing is at this point. We're just behind Ari, and we've got 3 or 4 cars just following behind us. Some of them cars, though, are on the harder compound tyre. So it's all about building that gap up, getting ahead, and it was so vital that we actually got ahead during that stage. And then we've got, obviously, Aura, which is causing a bit of a gap there, and that's going to mean we can break away from the slipstream, which is ideal, really, because now all I have to do, really, is just sit behind Ari. I know that he's fast now at this stage. I could see that the way he was driving, that he's got very good pace in that Hyundai. So I didn't really want to start battling him at any point now on the next few laps. We just wanted to work with him and just sit behind him and let's just use a slipstream, save our tyres, yeah, and just try and help our race pace. Now, obviously, on lap 1, I didn't know how fast he was. That's why lap 2, sorry, that's why we went for the move. But yeah, now we can clearly see that he's got good pace. We're not going to try and battle him. We're just going to sit behind him and basically just chill out, save them tyres, try and make them last as long as possible, because the Ferrari started to die a bit on lap 12, I found, with the tyre wear. But yeah, other cars were going really, really long, like the Toyota 86 and stuff like that were able to do like 16 laps on the medium tyres. The Ferrari just couldn't really do that. It was a little bit of a struggle for the Ferrari. But working our way onto the back straight, and again, nice solid exit there. You can see picking up the slipstream, and this is where you just gain so much in the Ferrari, because it's got them 7 gears. In a slipstream, it is so fast, so you just end up pulling all the way up behind the car in front. You see we gained 2-3 tenths already just on that straight, and then into this tricky left-hand corner. I have to say, when you're in a slipstream, it was actually really difficult to not go a little bit too wide there, or pick up either dirty tyres or spin on the curb, but managed to do it quite nice. And you can see the gap to POC behind us is at 1.2 seconds, so that's a nice solid gap that now. So all we have to do is work with the Hyundai in front. You can see I'm flashing him and turning to the left just to say let's work together now. There's no point battling it out. I decided I'd just rather save tyres and use the pace of that Hyundai to my benefit. So we work our way through the first sector, trying to keep it nice and tight into the apex, onto the throttle again, nice and smooth through here. And again, I was quite surprised how good the car was in front of us at this track. I really didn't know. I know the Mustang's very good, and I know there's a couple of other cars that can do very well here, but I wasn't quite sure about the Hyundai, how it would be. Had no idea. I've never driven that car in Group 4 at this track, or pretty much I've hardly ever driven it before. It's not a car that I tend to use, but it does look pretty strong at Suzuka. It kind of makes sense because it's obviously it's an FR layout, but it's quite a good handling car in the FR layout, so it's a pretty solid car for this track. It's got reasonable acceleration, it's got good top speed, not quite as good as some cars, but it's pretty, you know, since the BOP changing with other cars where they've lost power, that Hyundai has probably picked up in its performance now, because relative to the other cars it's not as slow as it probably once was. So through there on the hairpin, the Ferrari was very, very strong, so that was helpful for us. The traction was really good out the Ferrari, meant that we could just pretty much chill out behind in the slipstream. As long as we stayed around 5-6 tenths behind him, it meant that we'd end up picking up the slipstream down the straight and gaining a few tenths. So yeah, at the moment trying to be very smooth, trying not to brake too much, which is going to put obviously extra tyre life through the tyres, and obviously we're trying to limit the gear shifting as well, which again will help your tyre life in a race like this, where it was quite important to look after them medium tyres. So we've got that gap. You can see Pock now falling away at 3-4 tenths a lap, and this is ideal for us. We're just pulling away, nice clean air. Ari driving very well in front of us. It was a bit frustrating what he did in lap 2, but now it's kind of benefiting us, him being in front of us, and we're just driving it sensibly. We're not fighting with him. We're just basically, for a while, we just stayed behind him for 3 or 4 laps, didn't fight him. However, we get to lap 7, and you're going to see through here, we were close enough here. We're only 4 tenths behind, but Ari absolutely nails this sector, considering how old his tyres are. He flies through here, and it kind of took me by surprise. I think I made a little bit of an error on the throttle, but as we come through, you're going to see there the gap is still around 5 tenths, so we're in that slipstream. It's not really a problem at this point, but he really gets it hooked up through here. You can see he hooks the apex up really nicely there, uses the full width of the track, and he gets on the throttle and he doesn't have to lift. And you can see I actually had to give it a little lift because I didn't get the line through that corner, and that has meant the slipstream, the gap is now nearly at 7 tenths, which is pretty much close to the slipstream being lost. Through here we try and drive it quite aggressive, using the full width of the track, and again through here trying to hook it up, but again he does that extremely well. You can see he's actually breaking away from the slipstream just through that one sector, so drove incredibly well there through that section, Harry did. And again on the throttle here we nearly managed to pick up the slipstream again. We got on the power so nicely, but the gap came down to literally 0.001 off of picking up the slipstream, so unfortunately didn't manage to. If we would have picked it up there, we might have been able to drag ourselves back up for another couple of laps, but yeah, unfortunately he was gone now. We did though manage to stay pretty close to him all the way up to the pit stop as we join the action now on lap 12, and you can see that they're just in the distance there, a couple of seconds ahead after quite a few laps of driving. And the good thing is we did actually manage to still increase the gap to the cars behind, even though we lost the slipstream, so our pace was pretty solid. It wasn't slow, it was pretty good, and I decided lap 12 was going to be a good point to pit now, because we're hitting the crossover with the hard and the medium tyres. You can see them medium tyres are starting to fade, so I went into the pits along with Adam in front of us there in the Mustang, and we're now going to put on them hard tyres. So this is going to be interesting where we're going to come out. The pit lane loss was quite big. Some people obviously opting to start on the hard tyres and then do a long stint on the medium. As we come out of the pits, we've just about got out ahead of Will behind us there, and the Alpha that we overtook on lap 1 also just behind us, who obviously did a very short stint on them hard tyres and has pitted, and now they're on wearing medium tyres while we're on fresh hard tyres. So this is a really, they're definitely faster at this stage, but the hard tyre will have a few advantages over the medium tyres that are faded, because on traction zones the Ferrari would probably be a bit stronger with these fresh tyres, but then through some of the corners you can see that their medium tyres was definitely giving them some sort of an advantage. You can see Will behind us through the corners looks very strong in that Toyota 86, but in traction zones the Ferrari looks quite good. You can see out of there reasonably good, and then as we come through to this hairpin again, you're going to see the Ferrari in the traction zone definitely has good traction on these hard tyres. So into the apex, in first gear, on the throttle nice and early. You can see there, the traction out of the Ferrari was actually quite strong. We're actually going to build a bit of a gap up to wheel behind us. So at this stage, it's looking okay, although this is going to be a battle now all the way to the finish to try and hold on to this position. As we take a look on the replay camera, you can just see how close this is now with the drivers on track at the moment. You've got obviously, I think, Aura in the Corvette as well, who obviously went on that strategy, the alternative strategy as well, who's a little bit further behind, but he's probably going to join this action. And we didn't want to give this position up because obviously in the Ferrari, our acceleration is very good. And the two cars behind me haven't got the best top speed, which is going to mean that we might be able to defend this position. We've only got a few laps to do it. We've got 5 laps to go, and we've just got to try and hold on now to the finish. Can we manage to do this? As Will goes for a bit of a lunge up the inside, but we're trying to give him space as well there, but we have to take a line through there that's reasonable, otherwise we'll end up going over the off the track completely. But yeah, a bit of a lunge from 2 temps back. It wasn't too bad. I think he braked possibly a little bit late and then just tried to turn it into a lunge, but we managed to hold on to that position there in P5 now as we work our way into turn 1, trying to make sure we spot that braking point and down into 4th gear. Again, nice and smooth through here, just trying to keep it smooth while we're on these hard tyres, because on pure acceleration they're not going to find the way past. Again, you can see they're very, very fast through the corners, but then on the acceleration the Ferrari has got that advantage. And as we come through, we get a little hit from the car behind, which makes us miss the apex. We obviously then running wide through the corner, which is a bit frustrating. And as we come through, we get on the power. We come off the power, but we did squeeze Will a little bit wide there because obviously we got hit and off-centered from the track. We ended up going wide through the corner. It was a bit frustrating. Yeah, we did kind of push him wide, but I was very, very frustrated because we had just been pushed ourselves, which put us out of line on the corner. So although we did squeeze him on the apex, on the exit, I think we also got pushed wide. But I don't think it was anything deliberate by Will. I think there might have been a bit of connection issues there, but unfortunately Will did actually lose out of position there. But now we've got the Alpha behind us, which again is not a very fast car on a straight line. However, it is going to have very good cornering speed. So, and also he's again on worn medium tyres while we're on these fresh harder tyres, because I think he also pitted very, very early in the Alpha. The Alpha is one of the better cars with tyre wear, so he probably pitted lap 2 or 3 or something like that. So yeah, coming through here, you're going to see again there is a speed difference between these cars in the corners. However, again, on acceleration the Ferrari is very strong, but again, in the race before this car behind us did hit us a few times in the rear going into corners, and it got quite frustrating. And again, in this race, the same thing started to happen again in this one. Now, I understand he had softer compound tyres, but in my view, you don't just push someone out the way to try and get past him. Again, as you can see, we're coming through here. He does get a good exit there, but we've got enough acceleration to hold him off behind us. And at this point, we're holding him off okay. So we're going into this right-hand corner, into the braking zone. And as we come into the braking zone, we've got to obviously brake a little bit early, but he completely just shunts us into there. And that was so lucky that we didn't end up hitting the wall and getting taken out. But luckily, we managed to hold the car and keep it on track. But it was quite frustrating because little things like that it can upset your rhythm. It can make you crash into the wall very easily. So that was hit number 1 from the Alpha. That was the first contact in this race where he just hits us in the rear in a corner. But now we're coming through here, you can see we've got that straight line speed. We don't really need to defend too much there. So we're going through here, hitting the curb nicely. And again, you can see he is faster through the corners, but there's not much he can do. So we're going to hold the defensive line here and then make sure we hit the apex nice and early and get on the throttle nice. And again, you can see he's having a little bit of trouble with the traction zones compared to the Ferrari. Out of the chicane there, definitely seem to be a bit stronger. You can see the gap that we've built up now, which is kind of nice because now we've got a little bit of breathing space as we work our way down into turn 1, and we've only got 3 laps to try and hold this position for a top 5 finish in top split, which will be a very, very strong position, to be honest. So into this corner again, into turn 2, try and get it on the apex, get on the power nice and early, and again, we're okay at this point. But again, as we come through here, you're going to see he's going to pick up a lot of pace through the corners, but yeah, he's not really in a position to go for an overtake. And as we come through here, we're going to try and just keep the smoothness through this section. You can see he's going to try and go around the outside there. We get on the throttle, nice and early, and we're actually managing to stay ahead of him there. So yeah, we got quite a good exit off the corner. He did hit us again there, so that was contact number 2. And again, that could have been so close to being pushed on the right hand side onto the grass there, and that would have been pretty much our race over. So that was contact number 2. It was getting quite frustrating, I have to say. I was, you know, at that stage it was the second contact, so it wasn't disastrous. You know, we were still in the position of P5, but every time someone hits you, it does get a bit annoying. And as we come through here, he just completely rams us, and that looked intentional to me. You could see it, he accelerated into our car. Now I give him a little shove to the left there to show my disapproval of that, but you know, we're back into P5. But again, for me, you can't just ram into someone and push them out of the way and try and do an overtake. It gets very, very frustrating for the driver in front. So that was contact number 3 at the, you know, within a couple of laps, and it was starting to get rather frustrating. But again, I think there was a little bit of contact possibly there as well. I'm not too sure, but we work our way down the straight, and we've got a bit of a gap to him now. And again, the Ferrari is going to be strong on this section of the track compared to the Alpha, so it's just about holding on, making sure we get a reasonable entry into this corner. So down into 5th gear just to keep the revs going, and we use the forward track. And as we look behind us, he actually runs off the track there with a bit of understeer, and Will actually manages to get himself back up into P6. So now we're going to have to try and hold off Will there into this turn 1 and see if we can defend from Will. So we've got ahead here and we're doing okay, but yeah, we just got to try and make sure we try and hold on to some good points in this race. I think P6 was still reasonable points. So into turn 1, can we get the braking point sorted? Nice and early on the brakes, trying to get that rotation through the corner, and we hooked this up quite nicely, getting onto the curb there. And again, you can see there, Will is going to have a little look down the left here, I think, but again, he hasn't got the acceleration in that Toyota EZ6. We're not just going to get out the way. Through here, again, trying to keep the car nice and smooth, and you can see that Alpha isn't far behind Will also. So this is going to be very tricky. Now, Will does a very, very good move here. He actually goes round the outside, sends it up the inside. Obviously, the Toyota EZ6 very, very strong at stuff like that. A little bit of contact there, but it was fair, I think, by Will. And now we're on the inside, and we was no way going to give this up to the Alpha after all the hits he had done on us. So we're on the inside. We give as much space as we can, and you can see he just tucks in behind us there after he goes onto the green Astro. But yeah, after the continuous contact from him, I was like, nope, I'm not going to give up to this position. And we managed to hold on to P6 and still in Will's slipstream. Now he's flashing us there, even though he did try and, well, I don't know, even though he did deliberately, in my personal opinion, after looking in the mirror, accelerate into us and try and do an overtake. But yeah, we're not going to just give up this position. We're going to fight this to the end, all the way to the finishing line, as we pick up the slipstream from Will. And at this point, I decided there's no point battling with Will on this lap. We'll just sit behind him because we'll use the slipstream to our advantage. And I didn't want to fight Will too much after we nearly sent him off the track earlier. So on this lap, we decided to just follow behind him and get that slipstream from him, and just, you know, we're flashing him here just to say go back over to the racing line, because I didn't really want to fight with him at this stage. So you can see there, we're flashing him to say go back over, but we do miss the apex a little bit here because I was just too busy concentrating on Will. But we've got enough of a gap to that Alpha behind us, so making sure we brake nice and early into the apex, and we've still got this P6 position, and also we're going to get that slipstream from Will. Now the thing is though, at this stage their tyres are feeling very, very worn because they've been on them for a very, very long time. However, the Ferrari with the hard tyres at this stage is still pretty much like on fresh tyres, so there's still a lot of grip. Now we're losing a lot of time on in terms of lap time because we're battling so much here, but the Ferrari still has that grip. It's still got a lot of confidence in the braking, on the throttle and stuff. But yeah, they still have that advantage of the cornering speed, especially with their cars, which are better in the corners. So through here, again, we're going to come through here, and again, you see he hits us once there, tries to push us out the way. This seems to be a tactic that he just likes using. And again, watch this, as we come through it, he rams us in the rear, pushes us out the way, and I was kind of annoyed at this because that's about the 6th time he's hit us in the space of 2 or 3 laps in the rear to try and do an overtake. And yeah, I got quite frustrated, and there's no way I was just going to sit back and take that. So as we come through here, we go through the 2 right-hand corners. We try and make sure we get a nice solid entry and exit from this corner, so making sure we get good exit speed. And he's going to try and overtake Will into the hairpin, but he's going to leave himself very vulnerable for a little bit of a send up the inside. So as we come into the braking zone, he tries to go around the outside there. Will squeezes him a bit, I think, because he could see what was happening behind us, and we give him a little nudge there to show our disapproval. and we take that position back, which I think was justified. He's flashing us in the rear view mirror, which I found quite entertaining because he had just basically forced his way through. He was ramming us through the last 3 laps, and yeah, we just decided, right, I'm having that position back. Now we're behind Will, and we're actually going to be able to get a very good run on him through here. So let's see, can we get a slipstream off Will and see if we can go for an overtake on this straight. Now the thing is, the Ferrari, like I say, it's very strong on the straight, so look at the difference. Once we're in the slipstream, the power of the Ferrari is going to take over, and you can see the difference. Just look how fast it is in comparison to that Toyota 86. And now we've got to try and get the car rotated into 130R just ahead of Will there. We managed to make the move work, and we've managed to get ourselves into P5. Now we've got to be very defensive, so we're going to hold the middle of the track. Will's going to go around the outside, so we make sure we give him space on the left-hand side, and then Will gives us space on the right-hand side, just enough to take the corner. And we managed to hold the inside line, and now with the power of the Ferrari, we're going to go over the line with a very well-earned P5, and that was very heated. A real slugfest at the end there. But yeah, the Alpha did frustrate me quite a few times with the constant contacts in the rear. I think we gave it back as much as he deserved, to be honest. So yeah, we come away with 352 points, a pretty solid round for us. And I hope you enjoyed this video. We're going to be back with more of these videos and live streams in the future, so make sure you subscribe if you haven't already done so. Hit that like button and let me know in the comment section what points you got and if you enjoyed this race. Thanks again for watching, everyone.